Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Meering and I'm one of the candidates for for the election being held this November 2025. We've been posed a number of questions by the Carbon Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I will try and answer as many of them as I can in the period of time they've given us to respond. So the first questions involved basically my motivation for running for the board and any qualifications I might have. So I'll start with my qualifications. I have served for 8 years as a trustee previously, and during that time I was on the executive board of the Colorado Municipal League, which is an organization that represents or serves all the municipalities in the state. So it has a statewide reach. And then for the past 3.5 years, I have been the president. I have been on the Carbon Valley Parks and Rec District Board, and for the last 2.5 years of that, I have served as president of that board. The next question, well, the motivation for me really has to do with bringing my experience back to the board, as well as I feel like there's been a lot of misinformation spread about the current board, and also a lack of communication from the board to help address some of that. And I just think that there's an opportunity here for us to engage in the community in a better way so that we are all working for the same thing, which is the betterment of Firestone. In terms of my community involvement, as I've mentioned before, I served as a trustee for 8 years, and I've been on the Carbon Valley Parks and Rec District Board for 3.5 years, and those don't even begin to cover all the other volunteer work or work I've done in the community, ranging from being a LH League leader many years ago, volunteering with the town on various events and things like Santa Cops, and just being really involved and engaged with the community. In terms of what I think some of the pressing issues and governance might be, I think that there is a lot of mistrust with the local government, as well as the town staff. And I think that there is a lot of that comes from a lot of misinformation about what their roles are and what powers, so to speak, they might actually have. Too often I see things like, oh, they're all corrupt, they're all pocketing, money from the town, that we need to have a forensic audit. And I really don't like the tenor of those comments. I think it is just a fundamental mistrust in government overall that has not filtered down to our local government. So I think that's a huge issue, because unless we have citizens who at least trust to some extent their local politicians, we're just going to keep bashing heads. I also think there's been a little bit of a lack of transparency from the board. I think given this public mistrust of government in general, there was an opportunity to do a much better job of communicating with residents. The other pressing issue is also that growth is absolutely inevitable. We live on the Front Range of Colorado. The projections for the growth in this area and all across the Front Range are just astronomical. And a huge issue facing the town is, how are we actually going to deal with that growth? We have to be prepared for it to come. Which brings me actually directly to the very next section that they were asking us about, which has to do with growth in infrastructure and sustainability. So, as mentioned, we are going to grow. There is nothing we can do to prevent that from happening. The biggest issue is, how are we responding to that growth? Are we sitting with our heads in the sand and not doing anything to prepare for it? Or are we actually being proactive and making sure that our infrastructure, our roads, our intersections, our parks, our utilities are all ready to serve this influx of people? Because if we want to maintain the quality of life we have in our community, we need to make sure we're ready and not always playing catch up. So I think that is a huge thing that we need to focus on. There was also a question in here regarding annexation. There are specific rules that the town has followed in terms of who or what they annex, and it really comes down to, does the owner of that land want to annex into Firestone for whatever reason. And also the flip side of that is there are state rules as to like what you can annex, as well as it needs to fit the town. Just because you have a piece of land somewhere, it may not make sense at least at this time, for the town to annex that. So I think I don't have a problem with the annexation policies in the town, and as long as we're following those set rules, we should be good. In terms of housing affordability, that is a hot button issue all over the state. We're one of the more expensive states in terms of housing costs. And what always concerns me is that we seem to love building some single family homes. And of course, there's a huge place for that, and many people want that kind of home. But there are also many people where that's not appropriate. What do we do with our starter homes for young couples who don't have children yet, who just want to get into the housing market? What do we do for the people who've lived here for their entire lives and are now ready to retire and downsize but don't want to leave Firestone? We need to be looking at diversity in housing so that there are places for all people. Over the past few years, I think we've done a fairly decent job of building more apartments, which can fill some of that starter home type need, but I think there's a lot more room for improvement. Next one up is in terms of economic development and business and attracting new business. So I think one interesting thing is that growth brings growth. When you have more houses, you have more people and more businesses interested in investing in your town because they have a built-in customer market. So we have gotten some amazing growth coming through recently, including the Target that's coming, the Chick-fil-A that's being built. There's a lot of interesting things happening, which I believe will lead to more growth. And I think it's important to make sure that we are the town is the contact or the connection between local small businesses as well and those developers, so that there's a place for those small businesses in our community as well. And I'm looking at the time here. I'm going to have to hurry up a little bit. In terms of youth and civic activities, we need to, I think we should look at the possibility of setting up a youth commission of some kind, working with the schools to find students who might be interested in that kind of volunteer work, and also other volunteer work that we need to find volunteers for in the town. In terms of recreational facilities and so on, we need to definitely keep working with our trusted partner, the Rec District, and help support them in any planned development of new youth-focused spaces in the community. For transparency, engagement, and accountability, I think that communication are key. We have not done a great job of communicating with our residents. We need to get out ahead of things and let people know what is going on, so that they don't just hear the misinformation that's flying out around there, that they actually hear the truth from the town before that misinformation is deemed to be the whole story. And we should be using as many tools as possible for this, which includes social media, chat with the trustees, anything we can do that engages our citizen. And in terms of future vision and collaboration, I would like to take a look at rejuvenating the Planning and Zoning Committee, and also making sure that what their role is in relation to what the trustees and the town's decision-making process is very clear, so residents know what to expect with that. And I also think we need to make it easier and provide more opportunities for trustees to meet with and discuss matters with town residents. I think sometimes it can be a little hard to make those connections. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this video or watch this video. I'm asking for your vote in November. I've had the experience, I'm trusted, I work with everyone. Anyone you can speak to will say that I am a great partner in working with them for the betterment of the town, and I look forward to being able to serve you more. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.
Hello. Hello, I'm John Dansma. I'm running for trustee in the town of Firestone. I am a resident of Firestone and I will be asking for your vote. My name is on the ballot in November and I ask for your support. The question one is, what motivated you to run for town board? I have put my name in to run for trustee because I think the current board, with the exclusion of perhaps one trustee, seems to have lost touch with the citizens. They say they're listening to the citizens of Firestone, but their actions reflect other agendas. And I don't know why they have lost focus, but I wish to focus on those issues that are currently going on in Firestone. I think it's crucial that we have some new eyes, ears, and thoughts within the Firestone leadership because of the direction that I think the town wants us to go. So I'm a critical thinker and would like to contribute to the solution in helping Firestone be an even greater community than it. What unique qualifications and experiences do you bring to this position? Well, I was trustee for a year and a half when Jennifer Weinberger left in 2016 and 17. So I have experience being a trustee, and therefore I can slide right in and be effective immediately. Not much training would be required to get me up to speed. I've been attending meetings that the board has, and I also serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission and have for over 5 years. So I'm familiar with the way that the government works, the town government, and I can offer my experience from the Planning and Zoning Commission and offer that to the Board of Trustees. How have you been involved in the community prior to running for office? Well, I mentioned I've been serving as the Planning and Zoning Commission commissioner for a lot of years. I have also served as on the Parks and Trails Committee some years ago, and I've also served on the High Plains Library District Board of Trustees for a few years, from 2017 to 2020. So I'm familiar with the area, with Carbon Valley and with Firestone. And I think those experiences, plus when I was working, I'm retired now, but when I was working, I worked at UPS, United Parcel Service, and I was both an hourly worker there, and then I went into management. So I bring that management experience with me also. What role should the town board play in supporting public safety and emergency services as the community grows? Well, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing for a trustee and a leader of a town, is to make sure that the health, welfare, and safety of the people, of the citizens, are held as a priority. And I would continue to do that. Our Frederick Firestone Fire Protection District is very good, and I would work with them to ensure that with constant communication that we have good services, great services, and that as we grow, which seems to be inevitable, that we have great services, emergency services for our community. What do you think is the most pressing issue in our community, and how do you plan to address it? Well, there are a number of issues that are currently need to be addressed in our community. Our issue with Central Weld County Water District, that is untenable. It shouldn't be this way, the way that it is. We need to open communication with them again and give them assurance that we in Firestone want to work with them. But we can't hold hostage our citizens and our water supply, our treated water supply. So Central Weld and the Water District along with Firestone. We don't need to litigate everything. I think we can talk things out. So that is one issue. There's another issue with the sanitation, St. Vrain Sanitation District, where we are suing them for eminent domain for some locations for wells, for our sanitation, well, for our St. Vrain Water District. And so we need to address that, get on the same page, and work with that agency also. So we have two agencies that are vital to us for our support, health, welfare, and safety, and we're at odds with them. That shouldn't be. So that needs to change, and with new leadership and with another voice in there of reason, I would like to address those issues. The other issue we have that is a top priority right now is Central Park, the development of Central Park. I'll tell you right off, I'm for making that park a community-centric park and not a commercialized destination for people from out of town to come to and flood our community with more traffic, overloading our infrastructure, and perhaps jeopardizing the safety of citizens. I want that park to be a park that reflects the wants and needs of the citizens. I want it to be a great place for kids to come and play, seniors to come and rest and relax, and for parents just to enjoy the time with their families. So Central Park needs to be addressed, and working ways in which to fund the improvements. But the direction we're going now with a soccer stadium proposed is not the way to go. And then there's another issue, the town manager is leaving. So AJ Krieger, who has been here since 2018, is leaving, and by November 5th. So there's going to be a selection process being put in place for finding a new town manager. The current board will probably look for a interim town manager, and I want to be part of that process, and that should be starting in November, I'm guessing, if not before. So we need a town manager that is very interested in preserving our community and helping it grow sustainably and not to override the will of the people. So looking forward to that opportunity. And also, the town manager, I think, should live within the town limits of Firestone. If we're gonna appoint him, hire him or her to be to lead our town, they should be feeling the effects of their decisions, and I think they should live within the town. So our municipal code would need to be amended, but I think that can be done. What is your approach to fiscal responsibility and budget management? Well, generally, I'm a conservative in most issues. So as far as financially, of course, we have to have a balanced budget. And within that budget, we need to have very responsible spending. So just because we have money to spend doesn't mean incoming. We don't have to spend all of it, and we don't need to spend it on things that we don't need. So I think wise spending, when the Board of Trustees is asked to develop the budget and then to spend money on things, on projects, we need to do correct RFPs, meaning we need to put things out for bid so we get competitive bids. None of this, as has happened with this recent board, of just picking a company like P3 for helping develop Central Park, and then we spend $300,000 or more on efforts, and then we get almost nothing for it. So we need to not play favorites. We need to keep the process for selecting the companies to do work within the town, and we need to have responsible spending. So that's where